Hello, and welcome to the Beginning Animal Communication Conference call. My name is Janet Roper, and I'm an animal communicator and an educator. The purpose of this call is to introduce you to the wonderful world of animal communication and to remind you that you too can talk to the animals. That horse that you see, that's my horse Shiloh, and he's now an angel horse, but we were together for 18 marvelous years. And he's always been just the most amazing communicator, whether it's an angel horse or in real life. And he has always been an advocate for different species talking to each other. And what Shiloh would say was, tell people not to limp along with their animal communication skills. Now is the time for people to really learn to talk to animals and to listen to us too. We have much to share. Shiloh passed away when he was 23 years old, and he said that at his, in the prime of his life when he was 17 years old. I have everyone on mute right now, but not to worry because you're going to get a chance to talk later. There will be a question and answer session at the end. So feel free to add your questions and or comments in the chat during the call. The chat is found either at the top or the bottom of the screen. I think it depends on what platform you're using. And on mine, it's found at the top, and on the right-hand side, it says more. If I scroll over that, I will see the chat button, but it might be on the bottom hand of the screen too. So I welcome you to the world of animal communication. It's a wonderful world, and it's a beautiful world. And it's one of those things that it's true that we all do better when all creatures do better. And what better way to experience this than by connecting with animals in a deeper and more fundamental way, in a way that is their natural way of expressing themselves. Now, this is a little bit about me. I am an animal communicator, an educator, an author, an animal advocate, a blogger, a Reiki 2 practitioner, and I have just started the second year of shamanic studies. I've practiced animal communication for about 15 years officially, but I've actually done it all my life, as I'm sure many of you have too. My focus in animal communication is strengthening the animal-human bond, helping people who are experiencing pet grief, and helping folks realize that everyone can communicate with the animals. And let me tell you, there's nothing better in my book. Okay, granted, I'm a teacher, but there's nothing better in my book than seeing the light go off over someone's head when they realize that they can connect with their beloved dog or their beloved cat or their beloved horse or their beloved snake. It's a wonderful thing to witness. I am cheerfully owned and managed by 2 cats and 1 dog, and it doesn't get too much better than that. And then, of course, there is, you know, my horse Shiloh, who's an angel horse, my angel dogs, and my angel cats. So if you are wondering if you are in the right place tonight, you are in the right place. If you have a deep love and a respect for animals, if you have a feeling that the animals are trying to connect with you, but you're not sure how to connect with them. I bet you've had this experience that your animal pal is looking at you with soulful eyes, and you know in your heart of hearts that they are trying to tell you something. Tonight, we're going to be talking about ways that you can begin to understand what they're saying. And you are also in the right place. If you have always wanted to connect with animals, but you weren't quite sure of how to start. Okay, heads up is that you're going to want to take notes or take screenshots of the conversations tonight, because there's going to be a surprise at the end. And on tonight's call, this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about how I got my start as an animal communicator, what I love about animal communication, and let me tell you, there's so much that I love about animal communication that it was hard to narrow it down to just a few things, but knock on wood, I managed to do that. You're going to find out why animal communication is so helpful. You'll find out the question I'm most asked. And then we're going to be talking about what animal communication is and what it is not and how it works. And then you're also going to hear how you can get started tonight right after the call, connecting with your animal pals or the animals in the wild. And we'll be talking about ways that we can stay connected, because one of the things that I find really crucial when we're talking about animal communication is those of us that have like minds, those of us who not only believe, we go past believing, but we know that the animals can and do talk to us. It's really important for us to stay connected in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to be talking about ways later on about how we can stay connected. So this is how I got my start into the world of animal communication. Let's start at the very beginning, actually. I was led into animal communication by a dog. That's Teddy that you see in the picture. And I saw Teddy at the Humane Society, and I walked in, and here's this overweight dog with this little puppy attached to his tail. And this overweight dog had just the biggest smile on his face, and he was dragging this little puppy around by his tail, and I knew that that was my dog. And it was love at first sight. So not really working from my intuition at that point, or at least not consciously doing it. I talked to the people there at the Humane Society, and I asked all the right questions, including, did he keep his kennel clean? And the answer was, yeah, he does keep his kennel clean. So that's good. You know, I thought, okay, cool, let's take Teddy home. But when Teddy got home, he peed and pooped all over the house. But I have to say that the kennel was kept clean. So we worked with a vet and a trainer, and working with those professionals didn't solve it. And literally, because you can't make this stuff up, I was sitting in front of the fireplace one day and an ad for an animal communicator fell into my lap. And I was at my wit's end. It's like, I've tried everything, I might as well try the animal communicator. So I did. She lived in my neck of the woods. She came out for a home consult, and the rest is history. And I would just like to add that at that time, Teddy was 8 years old, and he passed away when he was 17. So basically, for 9 years until his dying day, Teddy kept the house clean. Yes, there were some accidents, but overall, he kept it clean. So you can read our story if you go to janetroper.com, and then how I became an animal communicator. You can tell the whole story, because believe me, you just got the Reader's Digest version tonight. And then the things that I love about animal communication. Every day as an animal communicator, I experience wonderful and amazing things that are happening between animals and humans when animal communication is used. Like I said, it's been hard to narrow it down, but these are a few of my favorites. One of my favorite things is I love how animal communication deepens the bond between animals and humans. My guess is that even if you don't consider yourself an animal communicator and you think that you can't communicate, or that you're not communicating with animals, I'm going to go out on the woo-woo limb, and I'm going to say that if you're living with animals and you love and you deeply honor and respect them, you are communicating with them. You just may not be aware of it. I delight in witnessing when the person realizes that they can connect with animals in a deeper and more profound way. And that, like I said earlier, it's like that light goes off, and it's so beautiful to witness. I can't tell you how phenomenal that is when a client will call me and they'll say, Janet, I heard what my dog had to say for the first time. I understood what my dog had to say. And as a teacher, you know, that just makes my little heart go pitty pat. I love it. And I love when people realize we all can connect with animals. We don't have to be, you know, there's a thing that goes out that says you have to be specially gifted, or you have to be psychic, or you have to be this, or you have to be that, you know, to connect with the animals. No, if you've got that profound love and honor and respect, you can connect with the animals. And the wonderful thing about it is that the animals are already connecting with us. So we only have to meet them halfway. If you think of a bridge where we're on one side of the bridge and the animals are on the other, they're more than halfway over there. And they know that we are reaching out and trying to connect with them intuitively, and they are just cheering us on. And another thing that I love is witnessing what happens when people realize in their heart that animals can be our guides and teachers when we are open to that. And I know that there's a lot of talk about animal totems and animal guides and, how the animals have lessons for us. And, the cardinal means this and the turtle means that. But the thing that I love, the thing that is so phenomenal to me is when a person actually gets it and actually understands that when that cardinal shows up in their yard, it's not just a cardinal showing up in their yard. I mean, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. That cardinal can be showing up for a specific reason, for a specific person in the household. And when we have that connection with the animals, folks, in my book, it just doesn't get any better than that. So remember, and I'm going to see if I can do this. Okay, this is the first time I've done it like this tonight. I think I might be having some technical problems here. Whoops, I am having technical problems. Sorry about that. All right, so I've got everybody on mute and I can't open my chat screen. You gotta love it when life works like this, right? When I open up when I unmute you guys, let's just talk about who's already communicating with their pets or with the animals in the wild. So you can type it in the chat, and if I figure out how to open it, I will, and if not, well, we'll just talk about it when we go to the question and answer. So, benefits of animal communication. As an animal communicator, people sometimes think I've stepped onto the woo-woo branch of life, especially if they are not in tune and, using their intuition. Or they just think that's a bunch of baloney or a bunch of hooey. So when I've gone to networking meetings or something like that, I found it really handy to have this list of benefits of animal communication in the back of my mind. And just like the reasons that I love animal communication, the benefits of animal communication just are phenomenal. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So I've narrowed it down to some that I find to be the most useful and the ones that I've seen the most often in my own practice. So with the benefits of animal communication, reason number one why I think animal communication is so awesome is that you get the animal's point of view directly from them. And how awesome is that? How incredible is that? That if something is going on with Fluffy or with Rover, you don't have to Google it to see what's going on, to find out what those symptoms mean. I mean, yeah, you can for information, of course, to be better informed and everything. But to find out what's going on, you can ask the animal directly. You just ask them, what's going on? What are you experiencing? What is it like? What are you feeling like when this happens? And then boom, you've got your answer. Reason number two why I think animal communication is so awesome is that you can learn about potential health issues before they become a serious problem. Now, animal communication does not take the place of a qualified medical care provider, but it's always good to know what's going on from the animal's perspective when you are getting ready to take them in for a visit. For instance, my horse Shiloh, in real life, he had weak legs. And if there was an injury, that's usually where the injury would show up. So Shiloh just got in the habit of telling me that when he could feel one of his legs starting to act up, he would tell me that it was getting ready to act up or that he was feeling such a way or, my leg is tight and that's really tightening up my hip. And I knew that it was time to call either the vet or the massage therapist, and that really helped Shiloh. And that, not only did it help with our bonding, but it also helped him feel more comfortable in trusting me, and we could get at the root of the problem before it got bad. Reason number three why animal communication is so awesome in my book is that animal communication helps you discover possible explanations for behavior problems. I can't tell you how many times I've been called out to a barn because the horses, and this is quoting, that horse is just misbehaving and won't listen to me, unquote. And upon talking to the horse, I find out that the rider is inadvertently giving faulty cues or is not balanced correctly, or that there's an issue going on with the tack, the way the tack is fitting the horse. Once we find out what's going on from the animal's point of view, adjustments can be made. You know, and that may include calling in a professional trainer and working with a professional trainer. Like I said about working with a vet, animal communication does not take the place of working with a qualified trainer, okay? But it certainly can enhance it, and it can certainly help that trainer who knows the professional tools when they've got that information from the animal of how why the animal is behaving in such and such a way. It can certainly help that trainer. Once adjustments are made, life is copacetic for everyone. Reason number 4 why animal communication is so awesome in my book, and maybe in my practice, I should have put this down as reason number 1, because I do work with people who are grieving and who are getting ready, and pets who are getting ready to transition over. But animal communication helps prepare the animal and their family, not only their human family, but their canine or feline family. It helps prepare the family in the death and the transition process. A few years ago, my dog, Emmy, she's now an angel dog, and my cat, Mitzi, who's now an angel cat, they passed within a couple of months of each other. And we were living in a small town at the time. And Emmy had been going back and forth for weeks about whether it was her time to cross over or whether it wasn't. And part of it was because she was my protector, and she didn't feel comfortable leaving me with, you know, just the others to take care of me. She felt it was her special job to take care of me. But as it became closer and closer to time, Emmy made it clear that she wanted to pass in the comfort of home with all of her animal family there. And so I was able to call the vet and arrange for them to come out. The vet and one of the vet techs, they were able to come out and help Emmy pass it home just as she wanted to. And then a couple months later, when it was Mitzi's time to pass, Mitzi made it just as clear that she wanted to go to the vet's office to pass over. And this was over a long holiday weekend, and I think Mitzi really started to not crash, but to get considerably worse on either a Thursday or a Friday. And she told me she wanted to make it to the vet. And of course the vet was closed because it was, you know, long holiday weekend. And she said, Mitzi assured me that she would hang on to Monday, but she said, I want you to call first thing Monday and get me in. And that's what I did. And so it's given me peace of mind that I could help both of those girls transition in the way that they wanted to. And finally, and I think this might be the biggest reason number 5 why animal communication is so awesome, is that it's the natural way that animals communicate. We are communicating on their in their ballpark, so to speak. Instead of expecting them to learn English or German or French or Spanish or whatever, you know, and all of the idiosyncrasies that we have in our languaging, we are connecting in a language that is common to all of us and that has been around since the beginning of time. And it's the natural way that they communicate. Eons ago, we humans used our intuition also, but we lost that skill and it became atrophied. So we are now, and I'm so lucky that I feel that way anyway, that we're so lucky to be living in an age where, yeah, it's okay to use your intuition. It's starting to come back. It's starting to be accepted that we don't have 5 senses, but we've got 6 senses. And it's just becoming a matter-of-fact way of life. And I think that is just an awesome thing. And to be able to communicate with animals where they're at, instead of adding that expectation of them having to come over to meet us, it is a very great thing. Now again, okay, still got to figure this out, and I haven't figured out the chat thing yet, but keep in mind, because at the end I'm going to be asking you what you find exciting about animal communication. And of the 5 reasons that I've shown you that I have found animal communication exciting, is there one of those that really strikes your fancy? Or is there another reason, or more than one reason, why animal communication floats your boat and just really excites you? So we'll be talking that as we get closer to the end of tonight's conference call. All right, good reminder here. Remember to take notes or screenshots, okay, of what we're talking about tonight. And even if they're just scribbled, okay, and you can scribble them on your hand for all I care, or you can be recording this, or you can just be taking notes on the back of an envelope. I'm notorious for doing that, actually. Just make sure that you're taking notes or that you've got a screenshot, and you'll find out more about that at the end. So the biggest question that I am asked, and I cannot tell you how many times I've been asked this question. I can tell you that if I had $1 for every time I've been asked this question, I could retire easily 5 times over by now. And that question is, can anyone communicate with the animals? Can any Joe Blow or Josephine Blow off the street communicate with the animals? And the answer to that, drum roll please, is yes. Everyone, and I do mean everyone, has the ability to connect with all sentient beings. And I say, right now I'm using the term sentient beings purposely instead of animals, because not only can we connect with the animals, but we can connect with the plants, we can connect with the trees, we can connect with the air, we can connect with the clouds. Anything that is living on this earth, we can connect with because we're all sentient beings. So yes, everyone has the ability to connect with the animals and with all sentient beings. Now, not everyone wants to communicate with the animals and other sentient beings, but everyone has the ability. It's like I have the ability to do my taxes, but that doesn't mean I want to do my taxes, yet I have the ability. So special gifts are not needed, and you don't need, you notice I've got that in quotes, special gifts are not needed, and you don't need to be quote unquote psychic to be able to connect with the animals. That's because we're all intuitive. Intuition isn't just special to me or a colleague or, you know, somebody down the street or another intuitive. Intuition, it's like I said earlier, it's our sixth sense. We all have it, and it's wonderful. All that's needed, at least in my book, from my perspective and my experience, all that's needed to connect intuitively with the animals is a willing to connect in that way, and a willingness to move beyond our human perception of what the world should be. So we take off our human blinders, so to speak, and we're willing to look at the world through the eyes of the butterfly that's pictured here, of the caterpillar that the butterfly used to be. We're willing to look at the world through the eyes of the wombat, or the mockingbird, or the eagle. And yeah, it takes practice. What doesn't, you know? But yes, we all are able to do that. So let's talk a little bit about what animal communication is not and what animal communication is. So let's start with the what animal communication is not list. And that's Max. He wants to join in. Animal communication is not magic. And you might think that that's kind of silly that I put that down there, but it's true. It's not magic. Animal communication is a very practical way of connecting with the animals. And animal communication involves more than just being a magician or just saying, I'm going to talk to Fluffy, and, you know, at the end of this 30-minute session, Fluffy's going to be all A-okay, you know? Animal communication is more like being a detective than a magician. There's usually homework involved on the human's part. And frankly, if animal communication were magic, I wouldn't be using my magic wand, because the relationship, the basic relationship in animal communication, particularly as we're talking domesticated animals, is between the person and the animal. I come in as a helper, as a support. I'm giving guidance, but the major relationship is between the animal and their human. Animal communication does not, it's not a medical diagnosis, prescription, or treatment, and it doesn't replace medical diagnosis, prescription, or treatment. A lot of times, particularly with people who are working with me for the first time, you know, we'll be talking, I'll be getting the background information of what's going on with the animal. And usually one of the first questions out of my mouth is, when's the last time your animal was at the vet? And people are just like really shocked. And they're going, well, you're the animal communicator. What's that got to do with the animal going to the vet? And what it's got to do with the animal going to the vet is that exactly what I said. Animal communication does not, it does not replace qualified and competent medical care, diagnosis, it does not prescribe, and it does not treat. So it's like we need to work hand in hand with these different modalities as animal communicators. We get the information from the animals, and then the person is able to take that information to the practitioner and say, okay, this is what's going on, you know. It just seems like my animal's got a hitch in their giddy up, or it just seems like my animal is, my dog is having a hard time breathing. Can you check into that? And animal communication is not a replacement for training. We talked a little bit about that earlier on, okay? I can get the information from the animal about what's going on and from their perspective, what will help with the training, but I am not a qualified trainer. I am an animal communicator. And that's what we need to keep in mind. Even if you're just, as a layperson, practicing animal communication with your own animals, keep in mind that one, it's not magic, there's homework. Two, it does not replace qualified medical care and treatment. It doesn't diagnose, prescribe, or treat. And three, animal communication is not a replacement for training. But what animal communication is, we've talked about this a little bit earlier, is that it's a natural, innate way to communicate with other sentient beings. Again, whether that's animals or whether that is, you know, the flowers in your backyard, or the clouds or the trees. Animal communication is connecting to and developing a relationship with animals and sentient beings through the use of your intuition. Now, granted, as you're using your intuition, you know, the information may be coming to you spontaneously. You might hear words, you might see pictures in your mind's eye, you might get physical or emotional feelings, but that's still your intuition coming through one of your other senses. And with animal communication, what it is, through two-way conversation directly with the animal and with active listening, resolutions of problems are created, and those resolutions are so important, you know, so important that we resolve those problems. And win-win situations and solutions occur. What's really fascinating is that I've had clients, first-time clients, okay, they'll call me because, well, this is a real-life story. They had a cat, I think the cat's name was Junior, Orange Tabby, rather set in his ways, and he didn't like people coming in the house. As a matter of fact, Junior got quite aggressive with people coming into the house, and he got quite pissy in the literal sense of people coming into the house. And so Junior's mom contacted me, and we, you know, we had the initial consult where I gather information and everything, set up an appointment. And then like 2 days later, I couldn't get the appointment in for like a week or so. And then like 2 days later, Junior's mom calls me, she goes, oh, Junior is so much better. Do we need to have the appointment? I'm going, yes, I'm glad that Junior is doing so much better. And yes, let's continue with the appointment. Because one of the first things that happens with animal communication is that the animals become aware that as their caretaker, that you are now tuned in on a different level and helping them, or in helping them take care of a problem that's going on. And they're just going, yay, yay, this is so wonderful. So a lot of times, just making an appointment with an animal communicator, or sometimes even just talking about making the appointment with an animal communicator, it's really enough to start getting everybody, all species in the house, on the same page. And that's just really great when that happens. So animal communication. Let's talk for a moment about how that works. And with animal communication, we are purposefully consciously, okay, connecting with the animal, with a different species. We're purposely and consciously connecting with them through that age-old form of communication, telepathy, or if you want to call it intuition. And you'll notice that I use the words purposefully and consciously, because a lot of times, particularly at the beginning, you know, as people start to experience animal communication, it's like, oh, I've got a feeling, or, you know, I got a hunch that this is happening. But as we start working with the animals, we start to purposefully and consciously connect with them. And as you know, when you are purposefully and connected with humans, okay, that just adds another dimension to the conversation, and it adds another dimension to the relationship. So it's really important to have that purposeful and conscious connection. Information is both sent and received through the senses. So the information, we talked a little bit about this a few seconds ago, the information can come in the form of sounds. You know, maybe you hear something in the real world when you're connecting with your cat. Maybe you're hearing birds outside, okay? It's not a coincidence. That is part of the communication. What just boggles my mind is how the animals can orchestrate what goes on in our real life to help them get their points across to us. So if you're talking to your cat, maybe you're seeing birds outside, or maybe you're getting thoughts, or you're seeing pictures of birds, okay? Or you might be getting a physical feeling, and I do literally mean a physical feeling, okay? So like if I'm talking with a horse, I sometimes get a physical feeling of being out of alignment, my spine being out of alignment, because their spine is out of alignment. Or if I'm working with an animal and the person has been working with a vet and everything, and they've been on a lot of medication, sometimes I will get that feeling of what that medication feels like to that animal. And then I can also get emotional feelings too, of not taking on what the animal is feeling, but feeling their emotions. And I don't mean to anthropomorphize when I'm saying this, but it's one of the ways that the animals communicate with us, is expressing things through our emotions so that we can understand what they are experiencing. Now, once I'm getting this information, the information acts like as an email address to me, because it has that energetic stamp or that energetic code of the animal on that information, that energetic essence. So it's that energetic essence of the information that I'm getting from the animal that is like the line that connects between me and the animal. And the other thing that's really cool about animal communication and the way it works is that you don't have to be in front of the animal to connect with them, because we're using our intuition. And intuition isn't boxed in by barriers of, such things as time and space. Intuition is not boxed in by that. Okay, so because time and space doesn't exist, when we are using our intuition, we don't have to be in front of the animal. It doesn't have to be on the same time frame. And that really, particularly people who haven't experienced it before, that can really blow their mind, because they're going, well, don't you need to see my animal? When people are, they're really talking to me and they're interested about animal communication and they want to find out more about it. I'm talking to the clients here, potential clients or first-time clients, and they want to find out more about it. They're confused because they think I need to see the animal, which, yeah, I get that. I understand that. That just totally makes sense to me, because it is in our society, we communicate face to face. That's the way we do it. But when we're using our intuition, we don't have to be face to face. And it don't even have to be next door, don't even have to be in the same town, don't even have to be in the same country, it can be on the other side of the world. And it can actually be in other realms. Okay, because, you've heard me talk before about communicating with the animals who are here in the physical and communicating with animals who are angel animals. So, yeah, it's those barriers. Animal communication, really, barriers are let down. And things are really opened up. It's like a beautiful kaleidoscope to me when animal communication is, when we call in animal communication to help us and to work with us. Okay, so keep in mind, okay, we'll talk about this a little bit later. Do you think animal communication is possible if it's broken down into practical steps? And the good news, and I just love this picture, something about that orange tabby going down the steps with all the plants just really makes me the happiest camper. But the good news is I'm going to be showing you what steps that you can take to start communicating with the animals in your life, be they the animals that you live with, your animal family, animals in the wild, animals in your backyard, or angel animals. I'm going to be giving you some steps on how you can be doing that. Now, after having said angel animals, I would wait and get some experience with the physical animals under your belt before you start with angel animals, okay? Because there's a lot that goes on with that. So, okay, scratch that. We're not going to be talking about angel animals tonight, but we will be talking about the animals in your house, the animals you live with, and the animals in the wild. And just a reminder, okay, this is not me going on the woo-woo branch, that everyone, and that includes everyone that's on this call, can do this. So let's look at how we're going to start doing this. And before that, yet another reminder. I'm just loving these reminders because I'm kind of excited about this at the end. But continue to take those notes. Excuse me. Continue to take those notes and take those screenshots because it's a big mystery. And I can't wait to reveal the mystery to you at the end. So here's how we're going to start with animal communication, okay? And seriously, you might want to be taking notes here, okay? Because this is really going to get you into that first, if you want to call it level, so to speak, or that first introduction, that first step into animal communication. And what I call it is creating a circle of quiet. And creating a circle of quiet, particularly at the beginning, it's really important because there's so many distractions in our life. It's really easy to get distracted. So as you're creating a circle of quiet, the first thing you want to do is go to a quiet place where you won't be disrupted or disturbed. So that means you're going to leave your smartphone behind. You're going to turn off Facebook. You're going to turn off Twitter. You're going to turn off any extraneous sounds like the TV or the music. You know, you might even want to do it at a time when you're the only one home and your family members are gone. If family members are home, ask them to please not disturb you during this time. Because actually, as we're creating the circle of quiet, as you are creating the circle of quiet, you are creating sacred space and sacred time to connect with the animals. So you're going to quiet your body. And if you have a practice that you normally use to quiet your body, then by all means, go ahead and do that. Whatever you do to make your body still. Maybe it's something like yoga, maybe it's something like stretching, maybe it's something like listening to music, okay? If you don't have a standard practice you use to quiet your body, good thing that you can do is to focus on your breathing. And what I like to do is to focus on breathing in, inhaling to the count of 3, holding to the count of 3, exhaling to the count of 3. Inhaling to the count of 3, holding to the count of 3, and exhaling to the count of 3. And that really starts to quiet my body. As your body becomes quiet, your mind will start to get quiet too. And it's really important that we get rid of monkey mind or mind chatter. Those are my two favorite terms for it. So when you got that yada, 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 yada thing going on in your head, you know, I got to do this and I got to do that. So by quieting our body, you've already started to quiet your mind. If you're ambushed by anything that goes on in your mind, okay, what you can do, and I love this imagery, is pretend that there's a wastebasket beside you. Okay, pretend there's a wastebasket beside you. And when you're ambushed by one of those thoughts that just kind of like pops through, like you're so calm, and then all of a sudden, oh, I got to go do the dishes. Throw that thought into the wastebasket. Or, oh, I've got to do this. Or, oh, I forgot to do that. Throw those thoughts into the wastebasket. Continue focusing on your breathing. Throw those thoughts into the wastebasket. And then what you'll start to find out is that your mind will quiet too. And what you're actually doing is you're going to different brain waves. But the fun thing about throwing it into a wastebasket, throwing that monkey mind or, that mind chatter into the wastebasket is afterwards, after you've talked to the animal, if you want to, you can always collect it and get that mind chatter back. I have never run into anybody who wants to get that mind chatter back. They usually, after the session, just throw it out, and keep the wastebasket because you'll need it again. Take my word for it. I need it again. So the next thing to keep in mind is good manners. Please, may I, and thank you. That is so good when we are doing that. In any kind of relationship when we remember our manners, but particularly as we are working with with animals, it's really important for us to use our manners and to respect them and not just go, you're the dog and I'm going to talk to you because, you're the dog and I'm the human and I want to know the question. I want to know the answer to my question. Believe me, I've done that like a zillion times and it doesn't work. Okay. So use the manners and ask permission to speak with the animal. And then honor the animal's response. And just like humans, we don't feel like talking all the time when we're asked to talk. So just like with humans, honor their response, okay? If they say no or maybe, don't take it personally. It's not meant personally. The animals do not mean things personally. And if there's nothing else you get out of that call tonight, I would like you to know that the animals do not do things personally to us. So if they say no or maybe, don't take it personally. It's just, that's the way they're feeling at this point in time. What you can do is ask them if you can check back with them later and see what they say. And again, if they say no or maybe, don't take it personally. Maybe reform the question was, you let me know when it's a good time, when you're ready to talk. And then don't think about it, okay? Don't throw it away, in the wastebasket, but you don't have to sit there and obsess about it, okay? Just keep it in the back of your mind. If the animals say yes, if they are ready to talk to you, then proceed with the conversation. And so as you're having the conversation, just as you would with any human that you're talking to, respond to what you're getting. And, the information, the conversation may come to you in different ways. It may not be, oh, Janet, did you know? Now, that was a bad example because for me, it usually is words because I'm a wordy person. Okay. But it might come in pictures, respond to the picture. It might become in feelings, respond to the feelings. But just know that that is how that animal is connecting with you at that moment in time. And also the thing that you can trust, like I said earlier in the call, that the animals are really reaching out to connect with us and ready to connect with us. They're going to connect with you in the way that they know you are going to best be able to receive it. So that's really an awesome thing when that happens. So you've stilled yourself and you have gone through all of this. You've talked with an animal. At the end of the animal, at the end of the conversation, remember to thank the animal. Okay, it's our manners again. Basically, in animal communication, if you remember, please, may I, and thank you, you have a head start. And that is just, that's a great thing, okay? So what you have accomplished by creating a circle of quiet, by creating a circle that literally puts you in sacred place and sacred time away from our everyday life, is that you have stilled yourself, you have connected with an animal, and you've had a conversation with an animal. And I ask, how does it get better than that? So now that you know how to create your circle of quiet, I'm going to give you some ways that you can start communicating with your animals, the animals in the wild. Let's stick to living animals for right now, okay? Animals in real life. I'm going to be giving you some ways that you can start communicating with them as soon as this call is finished. Again, okay, don't type in the chat because I can't see it, but just remember that, yes, I know that you're ready. We're going to move right ahead here. So in communicating with animals, always start with your circle of quiet, creating your circle of quiet. This is really important, particularly at the beginning, because it's a physical thing that you do that starts to set you apart from your real life, the life that you experience, your everyday life. Okay, the life of doing laundry, the life of running errands, the life of picking up the groceries, the life of, you know, cleaning up after your dog vomits, that kind of thing. So it's really important, particularly at the beginning, to create your circle of quiet. And you'll get to the point where eventually it won't be necessary to go to that quiet place in the house or that quiet place outside, but you'll be able to just slip in between the real world and the circle of quiet. So what I'd like you to start doing as your animal communication practice is, after you've created your circle of quiet, when you're getting ready to leave the house, I would like you to tell your animal pals that you're leaving and that you're going to be back. And you can either say this verbally out loud or using, you know, your intuition, saying it through your mind, so to speak. So when you leave the house, you're going to say, Max, I'm going to be going to the grocery store. I'll be back. And while I'm out not only going to go to the grocery store, but I'm going to stop at your store and pick up your favorite treats, and I'll be back. It's always important to tell them that you'll be back, that you're leaving and that you'll be back. And then what I would like you to do is to give your animal pal a job that they can do while you are gone, and make sure that this is something that they do naturally and they enjoy doing. It's something that they do normally, just as, because that's part of their essence of who they are. So for instance, my cat Billy, the one that you saw the picture of a little bit earlier, he's got kidney disease. And so, you know, there's days when he's better than other days and days when he's not doing so well. And so when I leave, I ask Raven to let me know if I need to come home early. Raven is my other cat, and that's Raven's job. And so when I'm out, I will just occasionally tune in. Raven, do I need to come home? Raven will say, he's always said no thus far, so that's good. But that's what Raven does. Billy's job is just to take care of himself and to rest. And Max's job is, if he sees anything going on and there's some alarm for that, I mean anything outside the house, for him to bark, that he protects the house like that. So each one of my boys has a job to do while I'm gone. One of the things that you can do, and you can experiment with this, see which works for you. Okay, instead of using words, either verbally or through, you know, your mind's voice, so to speak, is to just send a picture of what you'd like them to do while you're gone. So if you have a cat that really likes to watch for mice, okay, picture that cat sitting in whatever place they like to watch for the mice. Okay, for Raven, it's in front of the stove. So he will sit there, and he will sit there for hours watching. Okay, so if you're asking your cat to watch for mice while you're gone, picture them sitting there in front of the stove watching for mice. And just see which works better for you. Is it easier for you to use your words right now, or is it easier for you to send pictures? Whichever way works, it works, okay? And whichever way works, go with it. Okay, go with it. Don't just think, oh yeah, it's real easy for me to, you know, talk to them, so I'm going to practice with the pictures. If the pictures are hard for you, go with what works. Because eventually, just like a flower, your animal communication skills are going to bloom and they're going to blossom, okay? And things will start happening naturally. So at the beginning, it's really important to go with what works with you. Now, when you get home, ask them how things went while you were gone. Okay, ask them how things went. Max, did you have to bark at anybody while I was gone? Billy, did you have a good time taking a nap? I really appreciate that you just stayed in the bedroom and you just took care of yourself. Or Raven, thanks for letting me know that I didn't need to come home. I really appreciate for that. And then, okay, this is where conversation will start. Then pay attention to any feelings, any pictures, any sounds, anything that you get from them, because that's the way that they're telling you how things went when you were gone. Okay, yay, now we're getting to this part of the question. We'll get to the question and answer, but now we're getting to those, taking those notes. So, taking the notes tonight, okay? Yeah, it's always good to take notes, you know, when you're learning new information. Yeah, that's always good. And with some people, it actually helps writing things down, okay? But I wanted you to take your notes for tonight because I wanted to use those notes as a thank you for being on the call tonight. So what I would like you to do is to email me either a picture of your note or copies of your notes, or, you know, or maybe even a quote from your notes, okay? Something that really struck with you from tonight's talk, okay? I want you to email me that. And those of you who are on the call who email me either a picture or a quote or something from your notes, you're going to be able to ask me one free question about your animal pal, be they alive or deceased. And I will answer that. So that's my thank you for being on the call tonight. So here's the thing. You're going to email me like a picture or a screenshot or a quote from the notes that you took. And you're going to email it to janet@janetroper.com no later than tomorrow evening. So you've got 24 hours to do this. And along with those notes, you're going to send your question, your one question for your animal pal. You're going to send me their name, their species, their age, and if they're alive or deceased. And again, you send all of that to janet@janetroper.com, and I will answer that for you in thanks for being on tonight's call. And so I'm hoping that you've enjoyed the call tonight and that it's brought to your attention, brought to your consciousness, okay, ways that you're already communicating with the animals. Because, you know, as I've said a couple times tonight, those animals, they're so ready to talk to us that they're reaching out to us, okay? And if you are living with, if you're on this call, this describes you. You are probably living with animals, or you at least have a really deep love and respect for animals. And if you've got that, they're already reaching out to you and you're already taking the information in, okay? And you might call it, oh, it was just a hunch, just a gut feeling, just a coincidence, just a synchronicity, but you're communicating with the animals. So I hope tonight on the call that you've discovered how much you're already communicating with the animals and how animal communication can transform you, I mean you the human, into a different state of being. Let's stay connected, shall we? Because I truly, truly am looking forward to hearing how it goes for you as you continue connecting with the animals, or as you start connecting with the animals. So ways that we can stay connected is that you're on the call, you're already on the newsletter. That comes out every 2 weeks on a Wednesday. Another way we can stay connected, you're on the call. Remember to email me, janet@janetroper.com, with your picture, your screenshot, or quote from the notes that you took tonight to receive an answer to your one question that you're going to be sending me about your animal pal. And I also invite you to join me on Facebook. You can look up Janet Roper, Animal Communicator and Educator, or, and I'll have this link in the email that I'll be sending to you tomorrow. Just go to facebook.com/talktotheanimals, and that's /talk with the number 2, the animals. And the other way that we can stay connected is that I am teaching classes. I've got one that starts next Friday. I think it's February 3rd, the first Friday of the month. And then the other session is the first Tuesday of the month, which is the 7th. So I invite you, tonight was just, it wasn't even the tip of the iceberg. I invite you to let your own inner animal communicator shine through. And, you know, classes will help that. Yes, I will be giving you information, but what's really helpful from my perspective with the classes is that you've got people of like mind supporting you. You're connected with people of like mind, and you're working with animals of like mind. So in my classes, whether you sign up for the Friday one or the Tuesday evening one, they both are the same thing, it's just different sessions. You will be working with co-teachers Angel Horse Shiloh and my cat Raven, who is in the physical. Shiloh is the one that you saw at the very beginning, and he is a teacher to the very depth of his soul. He is a teacher. And it's just really fascinating to watch how my students work with him, how our students work with him, and how he works with them even after the class. We will be talking about the Code of Ethics for Animal Communication and animal communicators and why it's important to have one. We will be talking about recognizing and honoring your intuitive abilities. It's one thing to recognize them, it's another thing to honor them. And we're going to be talking about how to actively listen. We'll also be talking about brainwaves and animal communication, because when we are connected with the animals, when we are communicating with the animals, we are actually in a different world, so to speak. Okay, our brainwaves have changed. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about ways that you can validate the information you receive. We'll be talking about common animal communication blocks, which we all have from one time or another, and how to open those blocks. And we'll be talking about keeping an animal communication journal, what it is and the importance of it. And bonus, yay, this is my favorite part, and actually this is everybody's favorite part, is you'll be practicing connecting with, first of all, starting with live animals, and then we'll be talking to angel animals. So you will be talking with animals both in class and during the week. One of the things that amazes me is what people say about the classes. And I'm not saying this to pat my back or anything at all, but just the way that animal communication, how it opens up different parts of people, and how working with different animals opens up different parts of people and their intuition. So one of my students has said, working with Janet, Shiloh, and the other animal companions in our group was profound and fun. I feel more connected to my intuition in general, and so appreciative of the new understanding I have about the valuable wisdom animals want to share with us if we just stop and listen. And that's what we learn in the class, is stop and listen. And then Anne continued, bonus, I now have an ongoing team of animals to connect with whenever I want or need to ask for their help, as long as they are in agreement when I ask. And there's some takeaways from the class, okay? You're gonna be communicating with animals. It's like, yay, that's the big takeaway. I just love that, you know? You're connecting with a different species. You're gonna be learning more about yourself in the class. You can't help but learn more about yourself, because you are connecting with the animals and you are using a different part of your brain consciously and purposefully, so you can't help but learn more about yourself. In class, you get immediate feedback on the exercises, and there are exercises in class. You feel more confident in your intuitive and communicative skills. And one of the things that I see working in the classes is that somebody will say, you know, I don't feel comfortable with using my intuition because of this. You know, the big one is I'm not trusting what I get. And somebody else in class will say, I've discovered that too. You know, I used to feel that way too. And I've discovered if I do X, Y, and Z, that really helps me to trust my intuition. So you get the feedback from me, from the animal, from the co-teachers, as well as from other folks that are in the class. In the class, you receive the ebook, the updated 2017 version of Living with Your Dream, Communicating with the Animals in Your Life, and it's got exercises in there and tips. You receive the class syllabus, access to the private Facebook page, which is just for students who are in the class or who have graduated from the class. And that's where we continue after the class, after you've finished with the class. And then you receive access to the recorded calls. Class is normally $297 US dollars, but because you're on the call tonight, your cost is only $252.45. When you use the code B as in boy, V as in Victor, S as in Sam, 217. So when you go and enroll for the class and use code BVS 217, you'll be saving $44.55. Now this code expires Monday, January 30th at midnight Eastern time. And I will be sending the code to you in the email that I'll be sending tomorrow, which will have the playback of the call tonight and which will have all of this information in there. It will also have the link where you can sign up for the class. So now I am going to, all right, let me do this a different way. Ah, there we go. Okay. I am going to unmute everybody. And so everybody is unmuted. Hello there. Do you have any questions for tonight? Anything I can help you with?
I did have one question. You were saying that you don't need pictures or anything like that when you're communicating. The animal doesn't have to be there. You don't have to be with the animal. When I've used other communicators before, and sometimes they ask for a picture. Is that just because of their preference, or?
Yeah, I think so. I like to look at pictures because, well, first of all, I like looking at pictures of animals. I just really enjoy that.
Right.
But what I also like is if I can get a picture within 48 hours of when the session is, that is another way that I can tune into the animal. And it helps with the clarity and everything. I don't need a picture, but it is helpful. And sometimes if the person doesn't have a picture, then we just go without the picture. What I do need is a description. The physical description helps me, as well as their name and their age. And all of that acts like an email address for me.
Right. Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Yeah, because I most of the time they will ask for a picture, which is fine. I have plenty of pictures.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But yeah, when you said that, I just thought, well, everybody must have their own preference.
Yeah, and it also depends on circumstances too. Okay, because sometimes the animals that I'm talking to, it might be an animal that they had as a child. And the animal is deceased. And, they don't have a picture of it, of the animal. And so we're just going with a description. One thing that I personally don't like to do is I don't like to be face-to-face in real life with the animal as I'm connecting with them, because then I start reading body language. And so what I like to do is to truly do it intuitively. Most of my sessions are done over the phone, over the internet.
Right. Yeah, I used to, years ago, I was a lot more trying to get into this a lot more. And of course, all kinds of things happened and got away from it. And so I'm trying to get back into it.
Good for you. Good for you. And you know what? There's a timing on this too. And I'm not going out on the woo-woo branch when I say this, but there is a timing, a divine timing and the animal's timing in this. And so, yeah, if you're feeling that pull, follow it, see where it leads you.
It's something I've always wanted to do, and started really getting into it. And then, like I said, a bunch of things happened, a lot of stress, and it just kind of fell to the wayside for a while.
But if I understand you correctly, it didn't really, maybe the doing of it fell to the wayside, but not the wanting of it fell to the wayside. That's been consistent from what I hear you saying. Cool.
Right.
Cool.
And I've got plenty of animals to practice with, so.
Nice. Yeah. That's the one thing about animal lovers is we usually don't run out of animals that we can practice with. And once the animals decide, figure out that, we're willing to talk to them, they're going, oh, hello, let me wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and let's talk about this, shall we?
And I do talk to my animals all the time. I mean,
nice.
They're our kids. So when we leave, we always, tell them we'll be back. And, I do talk to them. So
awesome.
I mean, I'm home with them all day. I got nothing better to do.
Well, that is great. Thank you for sharing that. Are there any other questions?
Not for me, anyways.
From anybody else on the call? Okay.
Apparently not.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody, and now you're really seeing my screen here. I want to thank everybody for joining on the call tonight. And Really, I profusely thank you because you've given me the opportunity to talk about animal communication, and I don't pass up an opportunity to talk about animal communication. I'm so passionate about it, and I just love the way that, it really helps. In our world today, in my book, animal communication makes the world a more sound and a more safe place. So thank you
Right.
for being on the call tonight, and I'm looking forward to helping you discover the world of animal communication. I will be sending you tomorrow. I will be sending you the playback of this, as well as all the links
Okay.
and everything. Um,
Cool.
and so if you got any questions, just let me know. And again, thank you so much for coming out tonight.
All righty. Well, thank you. I enjoyed it.
You bet. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.